What's happening? Real quick video because that last video that I made about uh, therapy or therapeutic attempts, no, the process of therapy, as well as it was about fantasy as well, got more resonance than I thought it would get. And yeah, I just want to clarify something here. I think again in the title it said something like therapy is supervised introspection. And yeah, that's basically my approach on that. Of course, you can do different methods or different things in therapy, but I think the core idea and the real thing, the one thing that I would in I just want to make a straight statement, and therefore I have to simplify and yeah, break it down to a more simple level anyway. So the thing that makes the most sense for me is uh when I say I would recommend therapy, or therapy is a good thing, then what I mean is supervised introspection. I mean, there are special approaches for different things. There's hypnosis, there is also re-traumatizing approaches. There is regression, so a licensed therapist can regress you to a earlier stage of development in order to rebuild something, but these are dangerous, risky things. Re-traumatization as well. So what I want to talk about is what I see as the core idea. The thing that would make sense is supervised introspection, especially to raise awareness for parts of your personality that you're blind for, that keep you stuck, that is not benevolent, that is a problem for you. And when I talk about personality, I mean fantasy. Definitely fantasy, because we all have a self concept that is fantastic. We also have a self love. Um, we have a grandiose part about ourselves. So we have narcissism in us. Narcissism is a stage that everybody goes through in early childhood, and it has to do with becoming self, become separated from mother, and it has to do with the concept of love that you have. And a person with NPD, narcissistic personality disorder, is stuck in the narcissistic phase and um, has a conditional idea of love. So the narcissist says, I love you if you love me. In other words, the narcissist needs other people to exercise self love. Therefore, it's Sam Vaknin called his book Malignant Self Love. And therefore, we can say basically, ultimately, the narcissist is acting based on self hate because they can't love themselves in a primary way. They cannot just stand as they don't have a primary personality, and they can't primarily love themselves. They need other people to even experience themselves. They love themselves via other people because they hate themselves. They run away from themselves. They are not aware of themselves. They don't introspect. So, if we understand that everybody has some narcissism, because we if we repress this, we are immature, we are somehow too open, too vulnerable for this world, for this reality. So we have to go through the narcissistic phase and integrate this part of us. But this is not what I want to talk about and clarify here in this video. Now, what I want to clarify is that um, every personality concept, when you go to therapy, wherever you go, whether you go to therapy or you not go to therapy, you run around with a fantasy, with a fantastic concept of yourself. For a healthy person, this self-love, this concept, this identity is rooted in reality. Reality means you have a connection to a world that you share with other people, and I'm not talking about the narcissistic family cult that is violently coerced to validate you, but anywhere you go, your self-concept functions in social environments, and you are not, it's not based on a false self. In other words, it's valid wherever you go. Your self-concept aligns with how people perceive you. This means you have reality testing, um, and it can be that everybody struggles with some problems, and these can be parts of your self-concept, your fantasy, that you're not aware of or that are simply wrong. So it can be something is missing in your concept, or there is something that is not serving you. It creates problems for you. So you can see a therapist as someone who will see your fantasy. You reveal your fantasy, your self-concept to the therapist, and the therapist looks at it like a gardener that would cut a tree, that prunes a tree, that will see, oh, here is the healthy part of the fantasy, this is the vital parts, the life drive is speaking here, it's functional. It's functional for society, it's functional for social structures, it's um, it's not self-destructive. This is um, self-constructive. It's it serves the person and everybody else around the person. But there is a part of this fantasy that leads to problems, social dysfunctions, behavioral problems, self-destructive death drive. So these things have to be pruned away, cut out. The therapist will try to let the person that is in therapy realize this by themselves or point them towards this, uncover these dysfunctions, or so it can be that the therapist tries to cut out this part to make the person aware there is something that a grandiose fantasy that is not based on reality. It's overestimation of yourself, or something that you need to cover up shame and anxiety. So you need to go through this inner work. But it also can be that the therapist sees there is something missing. This person could be not narcissistic enough. It could be this person is not goal-driven enough. This person is not standing up enough for what they want. It's not aggressive enough. It can be. So, in other words, a therapist is a person that you need to trust, is a person that needs a lot of experience, is a person that needs a lot of background knowledge, and then this therapist will see your fantasy, and you need to have enough trust that you actually give the therapist you believe that a therapist has more discernment in what is functional than yourself. That's therapy, I think. I think that's therapy. That's the same if you go to a doctor. You hand over your physical health to the doctor because you believe that he has better discernment and knowledge about how to get you healthy than yourself. And this is what you do with a therapist when you go to a therapist on a mental level. Okay? You reveal your self concept and your fantasy to the therapist, and the therapist will look what part is healthy and what part is not serving you, is leading to problems.